I'm Brian Burnett, National Conference Chair, and I'm in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, with Terry Boyarsky, who is doing a session in November on Dalcroze and the quick reaction exercises. Hi, Terry.
Hello.
So tell us a little bit about Dalcroze itself.
Well, Dalcroze is the name of a man. His name is Émile Jacques Dalcroze. And he was teaching music theory in Geneva Conservatory. And he began to understand that his students didn't really get it. They could read music, they could write music, they could theorize, they could harmonize on paper. But when it came time to making music, they were out of touch. He started experimenting. The main way they were out of touch was rhythmically. So he started to have them move to the music, move to solfege exercises, and then he had them take their shoes off and walk around in the conservatory class barefoot, for which he got kicked out eventually. It was scandalous back then.
Radical.
And then he continued the rest of his life to explore how music and movement are essentially the same. So whatever sound you have, it has an appropriate movement response. Or whatever movement you make has an oral quality. Then later, the system became more formalized into eurythmics, which means good rhythm. And that's the part that everyone knows about, which is moving around in the classroom. Solfege, which is, of course, the study of pitch relationships. And there was always a movement component to the solfege, or a rhythmic component. It was never done arrhythmically.
Isolated.
Yeah. And the third aspect is improvisation. You can improvise with your voice, you can improvise with body percussion, you can improvise with your movement. Speaking is improvisation, right? He took this to a very deep level, and whatever small element the students were studying immediately became material for improvisation.
There you have it. Tell us about the quick reaction exercises. I like how they focus the children's attention and adults' attention and make them better listeners.
Right. The whole thing is, you can't really learn if you're not paying attention. So Dalcroze understood the necessity of keeping alert, and he was very interested in how to have students have a lively, flexible attention. At the same time, you need an open, responsive body, so you can, so to say, react. So in a Dalcroze class, the teacher improvises so that you're not habituated. You don't know what to expect. Immediately, you have to listen. You have to stay open and receptive. That's a big part, is the teacher's improvisation. And then you can have a game set up so that there's a signal. If I play this, you do that. That sounds very simple. But of course, it's infinite, and it can be very deep. Personally, I think it takes about 3 times to make a bad habit. If you practice piano and you play something wrong 3 times, that's it.
You've got it down perfect. Yeah.
On the mistake. And then when you do have a habit, you basically have fallen asleep to it. You've stopped listening. You're maybe bored. You're passive. So in this quick reaction exercise setup, it's designed to alert you, to give you surprises, and kind of stimulate the nervous system and keep you on alert but not anxious. And that's a big part of how you set up the exercise.
Terrific. I read your article in the Orff Echo, and from that I got a good understanding, but I think it's so much more important to actually do the Dalcroze rather than just read about it. It's so hard to explain it in an article.
Yeah, it's impossible to explain because there's so many different angles. And people argue that it's not a philosophy, it's not a method, it's not a pedagogy. I mean, these conversations go on all the time in the Dalcroze world. But really, the main thing is you have to experience it. Because what happens to you when you're involved in making music with your body, you're using your whole body as the instrument, and you're trying to become the inner ear of music as you move. All these changes take place that are hard to describe. But when you experience them, you change as a musician. And you change as a teacher. You realize you study your own process in more depth.
Well, I think that having children and adults be better listeners and more alert would be great in any classroom, not just a music classroom.
This sounds very serious, the descriptions of Dalcroze, but he said that one of the main ingredients to learning is joy. So we try to make these exercises a lot of fun. And usually there's a lot of laughter and delight. Children like to be surprised and delighted, and so do adults. We try to have that in the class.
Thanks so much. I'm really looking forward to your